Hello, this is Deborah Anderson, the Black Woman Animator, come back to you with another video. And in this video, I have Justin Polley. And so I'll let him introduce himself, give a brief bio.
Hi, I'm Justin Polley. I am a artist of animation based in Los Angeles. I've been back in Los Angeles for about a year, and I primarily focus on design. And right now, I'm, transitioning into more storyboarding. So it's pretty cool.
So let's start off with, what was your relationship with art in your childhood?
Oh man. So my dad is an artist, not for animation, but just like for a hobby. And just grew up with his artwork all over the house, sculptures, African art, all kind of stuff. And then he started getting me these art of books, like how to draw manga, how to draw all the Marvel, like how to draw superposes and stuff. And that was pretty much what it was for a long time. And then comics came into this the scenario, and I started like trying to, recreate all the things I would see in comics. So in my childhood, it was more like edgy stuff, like edgy comic book, like anime, manga stuff. It wasn't really animation, like all the stuff you would see like in an art of book for Lion King or like Prince of Egypt and stuff like that. Like I actually didn't see a lot of that stuff until later on, until after high school, when I got into animation college.
So how would you describe your art style?
So it's basically if anime and Disney art had a child, like those two mixed together are like those are my biggest inspiration. Art, like American feature film and French feature film now. Or feature film and anime are my big inspiration. So I always try to fit them in on every project that I'm on, if I can. If otherwise, I'm just trying to match the style of the project. Yeah, those two are like the big things.
So how did you get to the point where you wanted to get into animation?
Well, the Art Institute, which was my first college, came to my high school. Like I said, I had only saw like manga books and comics and stuff like that. And they came and did a presentation, and they showed like some behind the scenes of like how 3D worked and like how pencil tests work and stuff like that. I was blown away, and at the time, my dad wasn't really, even though he's an artist, he wasn't really fond of the idea of me like taking that path because he felt it wasn't stable financially. But once I saw that, it was just kind of like, hey man, I'm doing this, bro. Like, I'm sorry. This is what I'm doing. Period. In the story.
That's what's up. So you got your master's at a very prominent French school, Gobelins. How were you introduced to the school, and what was your path to getting a master's there, like getting accepted and going
there? Actually, that's a chunk of, like a big chunk of time. Like I okay. I actually I graduated high school in 07. So that lets you know a little bit how old I am. And then I went immediately to the Art Institute, and during my time at the Art Institute, I found their YouTube page, and I was like blown away by all the stuff they did at Annecy, the film festival they do every year. So that's when they hit my radar. And then I graduated from there, and a period of time went by. And for some reason, I want to say like 2016, I just went to go check their site. I think I was like, what's going on? Like, cause I checked their channel every year, like for the new animation. I'm like, what's going on? Like, why didn't they update the YouTube channel? So I went to the actual website and I saw that they had an international class like starting up that was all in English. Yeah, and I was like, oh, snaps, like, because their previous course or their French course is all in French. I didn't speak French, and then they had an age limit. I think it was like 24 or something like that, and I was like 26, going on 27 at the time, something like that. So the international class was like, I was like, oh snaps, like, I don't know. I slept on it for a little bit, and then I found out they had a summer course. So I entered the summer course. It was 2 weeks. Freaking loved it. This is 2016. And then I came back, and it impacted that 2 weeks. And I will learn more in that 2 weeks. No offense to anybody at the Art Institute. I guess the Art Institute of LA is not there anymore, so I guess I'm free to say this, but I learned more in that 2 weeks in the summer course, the Gobelins summer course, than I did at the 3-4 years I was at Art Institute. I was like, bruh, I gotta take a shot. Like, I really had to take a shot. So the next 9 months, 8-9 months, worked on my portfolio, sent it in. I was a nervous wreck for like 2 weeks waiting for my reply. And then actually, me and a buddy of mine, we were working on a short. So he was coming over every day. And I had the interview. They emailed me to have the interview. And but I didn't have a webcam at the time. He had the laptop. So he had to come over at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning just for me to interview with them because of the time difference. So it was like, yeah, like clutch moment, clutch guy, man. So like, the interview went well, and it was just kind of like a domino effect after that. And then fall of 2017, I started September. I still kind of don't believe it happened, actually.
Even though you're done, you're like, is that a dream?
Yeah, like, is that really? I don't know.
So, how do the French approach animation, and how is it different than we typically see in America?
Man. Yeah. Oh, man. Okay. I think this is just my thought. I think it just stems from, their approach to animation stems from the overall sense or a connection to art for France in general. Like, they have a more deeper connection to art than the average American, like the average French person. They frequent museums and galleries and stuff like that. Like, that's all throughout France. Everywhere you go, it's like there's some kind of gallery, there's somebody's stuff on display, whether it's painting, sculpture, somebody putting up some rugs, for a gallery or something. And they're like, pretty dope rugs, like you would really go in there and spend time and look at them, like, and I think that's the sense or that connection then goes into the people who become animators. And you see it in their design, like their sense of character design, their gags, like everything is for me a bit more extensive and not as commercial. Don't get me wrong, like nothing wrong with commercial art. Like I love American animation, like it's part of my heart. But I do like I like the way French approach animation with their extensive art connection. I don't know if all that made sense, but that's just that's just my thought. That's what I saw.
You be having thoughts, and we got to share it with the people. So what was your personal experience with the animated filmmaking program?
It was a blast, and really intimidating a lot of the time, to be honest. Because you go in and you see like, these virtually kids, who are coming into the program at like 19, 20 years old, already drawing like beasts. And then you're like sitting back like, why the heck am I even here right now? What is my purpose in life right now? But you have to wake up, it's not like, I had no skill at all, but it's just kind of like, wow, like the bar here is undeniably high. Every single day. Every single day it's just hitting you. So that created a lot of pressure, which could easily turn, like I said, into intimidation. And that was something that I constantly dealt with every day. But it did push me to the next level. Ultimately it pushed me to the next level, which I'm like blessed that it happened.
So from what you're saying, I think I know the answer to this question, but was it very obvious why the school is world renowned, and did it live up to the hype?
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So what was the structure of the program, and what was it like kind of going through the classes?
So I was there for 2 years. In the first year, we had these modules that would last about 2.5, 3 months each. So the first one we did like a walk cycle, an animal walk cycle, and then the second module we did a 2D, 3D exercise where we merged. We had a 2D character and a 3D character interact with each other. And then the third module, we did a 3D focused project where we just we got into teams and we created a story, and each person made a character. We designed it, modeled it, rigged it, and then we had to animate a sequence and put it all into a very short film. And then the second year was the grad film, and we focused all year on the grad film. So that was pretty much like the structure of the program, the international program. And what was the other part? You asked about the structure and the.
Yeah, you kind of went through how it went, like what it was like. So
Okay.
I think you answered the question. So what were your challenges in the program?
Again, like just my personal goal of, at least trying to aim for what I perceived the bar was at the school. I did have like a landlord situation for like the first like 7 or 8 months.
Wow.
That kind of really, really, it became a problem, but the school helped actually,
Mm-hmm.
which was surprising because Art Institute didn't help me with nothing. It was like, you pay your money, go to your class, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But so I think it lasted 7 months because I was just kind of hesitant to go to the school because I just wasn't used to. But that was another
The
challenge.
support.
Yeah, exactly. Like I didn't expect them to support me like that, and that was another challenge, which was a personal one, and then just being away from home. I miss my grand, dad, my friends, Popeye's chicken. Just stuff like that. That was another challenge. But that's pretty much it. I mean, it wasn't nothing like. Oh, and then graduation film was pretty challenging just because it's a real simulation of a real world production.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point I just kind of felt overwhelmed, but still saw the light of day at the end.
So, my next question is, what did you enjoy about the program?
In hindsight, everything. When you're under the pressure, you know what I mean? In that moment, it's kind of hard to embrace it, or it's kind of hard to appreciate it or see the upside, when you're in the moment. But everything that happened, that I experienced, whether it was challenging or you know something that was like super exciting or whatever, like everything was good, everything.
Mm-hmm. So what was your role in the film In Orbit, and how was the process working with your peers to complete it?
So everyone actually we had a small team
Mm-hmm.
of 5, and most teams were like 6 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually, each of us had a hand in every part of the process. Like other teams that were larger, they were able to delegate like certain people only doing certain things. We didn't have that luxury. So everyone took part in every part of the process, from script writing to previs, which involves character design, background design, style frames, etc. And then layout. Everyone had a hand in layout. I would say Julia, who's French, she did most of the boarding.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone, of course, animated. And then Julia again, she took, it was me, Hansu, who's from China,
Mm-hmm.
Meton, who's from Brazil, Soham from India, and then Julia from France. So
Nice.
Julia again, she came in when it was like time for a comp, kind of led that. And then once animation was finished, I kind of went over to the cleanup side. And so everyone was kind of like, it was like we really were working as like it was almost like one mind. You know what I mean? Like everybody, it's like we formed like Voltron, really, like to get that project done. That's pretty much how it was the entire time because we were a smaller team. There were times where we were really challenged as a team. Like we weren't seeing eye to eye at all.
Right.
And then there were times where we were like all on the same page, like, so
We rolling.
yeah. So we went through a crazy arc, man. It was crazy, but I'm really glad that the film turned out the way it did. We got it done with, like I said, being a smaller team. You go in and you see all these larger teams. They're just like but that's us looking from the outside in, because then you find out that those teams are having challenges as well.
Right.
So it was really an enlightening time.
Was it necessary? Well, you kind of already spoke to, you didn't have to know French, but how much French did you learn?
Ooh, man, not much, to be completely truthful. I didn't learn much of it, because of course the program was in French. I mean, in English, and I felt like I'm having a challenge enough learning the language of animation, let alone the language of France. So it's like,
right.
Some people actually embraced it, and people started learning, and I was just like, okay, like I took part in it whenever people grouped up and wanted to learn and, share words and sentences and stuff like that. And then I had friends who were outside of the program because I'm into dance. So a whole network of dancers that I was connected to, but most of them spoke English. So even when I was outside of the school, it was just kind of like, well, I guess they want to speak English. So I mean, I'm not gonna stop you. Shoot, because I want to speak English too. Shoot, so and then but you did kind of like hit a wall sometimes when you're trying to go out and you explain it, ask somebody for something, or like people kind of giggle because you pronounce something wrong. Like, but it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I got through it.
Right. So I spent 2 years in South Korea, and it gave me it's that perspective that, because before I went to Korea, you think about, people who come from, different countries. And if you think about Hispanic people and how they like survive in America and never learn Spanish. But then when you go to a foreign country, it is very easy to not learn anything and survive. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like, you hit the nail on the head. Like, that is true.
Because with me, trying to learn Korean, because I was open to learning Korean, but it was like the grammar for me. So, English is subject, verb, object, and then Korean is subject, object, verb. So all the verbs are at the end of the sentence. And so that was throwing me for the loop, particularly when you get into like forming complex sentences. I'm like, I don't know.
And then you have to learn the characters too, like the letters are different and everything, right?
Yeah, but I learned how to read in like in about a week or two, because Korean is actually the easiest, because Japanese and Chinese have all those character, like the separate characters that you have to learn for every word. But Korean is actually just letters, and then you combine them and put them together and stuff like that. So it was actually really easy to learn how to read. So I could read anything. I just don't know what it says all the time,
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's
which
like
is
me in
which is
Spanish.
weird.
Yeah, like that's me in Spanish. Like I can read, I can verbalize Spanish if I read it, but I don't know what I'm reading. You know what I
Right.
mean? I know the two L's make the Y sound, and then the N with the little
Tilde.
wave on top of it. Yeah, I know how to pronounce it when I read it, but I wouldn't be able to tell you what it say. You know?
Right. So, can you explain your experience living internationally? Did you experience culture shock, and what are some examples of that?
Yeah, I experienced positive culture shock actually, which is I grew up and I came back to Inglewood, California,
Mm-hmm.
Los Angeles, right? Which is not too far. I don't know, how many people who watch this are familiar with Nipsey Hussle, and like that whole area, South Central LA. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
you got gangs, you got the police situation, you got the poverty situation, you got all these real elements
Yeah.
that are part of the place. And so one of the main things though is around here, when you walk down the street, every car that pass by, you gotta like make sure,
Mm-hmm.
hostile individuals inside the car, because that's a real possibility. They might
Right.
right up on you. And when I went to Paris, I noticed that I wasn't doing that.
Right.
Because I think my body realized like that it's not
It was
in
out of
there.
fight and flight.
Yeah, like it was just like my body is like every car that walked up or crept up behind me, I didn't feel the need to like check to see,
Keep
you
your
know.
head on swivel.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I didn't feel like I had to check what colors I got on, or like, all right, this is this hood, you know what I mean? I'm in the 6 O's right now, or I'm in the 40s right now. I got to make sure that I'm
You got to plan out your day.
moving accordingly, you know. But I mean, don't get me wrong, like they have their inner cities, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like it is here, you know.
Yeah, LA is even, I've heard, very different from other inner cities in America. So,
Yeah, yeah. Um, so that was one of the big culture shocks for me. Like, man, that was a big relief not to have to walk around, because I did want to like explore the city, and I mean, I didn't get to do that as much as I wanted to, but when I was, I just I did feel the freedom to be able to move around like I wanted to without that
yeah.
back. And the other thing was the efficiency of transportation, public transportation. I mean, it did have its snags a bit, but
Mm-hmm.
overall, it was like I was so happy not to have to drive. You know, like, it was, when you're having a bad day or a long day or a slow start to the morning, and you got to be cramped up with other people, right next to you, that does kind of get to you at times, you know,
Yeah.
you know, for the most part, like I knew I could get somewhere on time,
The
like,
thing I liked was that I could, since I could take public transportation in South Korea, which was like the best. Like, I mean, because Japan is probably the best, but South Korea was like you can get anywhere easily. And so the thing I liked was being able to read or like multitask. Like I don't have to drive, so I could do other things.
exactly. And like, And I didn't get my iPad until like nearly the end of the graduation like year. But I had my iPad like that first year, so I could just experience that on the subway. Like, cause you see like a lot of other artists like trying not to be creeps on the subway, like looking at people. Like, but you know, me being an artist, I already see you. Like, I
Right.
already got you being it. But you know, of course, you don't say nothing. But it's just kind of like, dang, I wish that was me.
Right.
You know,
Try not to be a creep.
like, excuse me, you know, like, so that was pretty cool, man. That was such a dope experience.
And what you said with the positive like culture shock, what like I realized being in Korea that I'm afraid of the American dark, not the like the Korean dark, because um like when I hold on, when I being like a woman, I would be walking down, like if I had to get off the bus or had to get off the subway and walk to my apartment, I wasn't like afraid or anything. Like the most I would have to do is worry about like I saw some women experience like Korean dudes just like opening like flashing or something like that, but I luckily I never experienced that. But I was just like, because they also don't have guns in Korea,
Oh
so
snap! Okay.
so I'll just be like, oh
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I definitely you hit the nail on the head. Like you know, the nighttime, you know, international nighttime sometimes is not as daunting as you know a night walking around in America because you know as you can see a lot of us are having a lot of like a lot of us are troubled. And
Hmm.
I'm not saying that there aren't troubled people in other countries
Right.
or crazy things that happen in other countries, you know what I mean? But it seems that, you know, collectively uh it is a bit more safer,
Yeah.
you know, over certain other countries. Certain other countries might be worse than America. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I couldn't speak just so one sided, you know, about it. It was, you know, like I said, it was a big relief to just be able to walk like that. That really impacted me a lot, actually.
Yeah. It's really freeing. Like, and for me, my personal journey, I didn't really grow up in the hood like that, but you do have to carry yourself a certain way in America. And so, being able to like go to a Burger King in South Korea, and if you leave something there and you come back and it's still there, it's just like, okay, I'm gonna embrace this, but when I go back to America, I'm gonna have to relearn. Like,
Yeah, you got to reprogram because it's like, man, you know. But I mean, in France, there is a big pickpocket situation.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I heard about that.
Actually, the first when I went for the 2 weeks in that summertime in 2016, this guy tried to pickpocket me, but I like, I like, I don't know. I guess I was like at a bad angle or something like that, and he couldn't really do it. And I mean, I just turned around and gave him like, you know, I couldn't. I wanted to say some crazy stuff in English, but I was like, man, I can't even say what I want to say because it's in English, you know, and it's disrespect. So I gotta just look at him mean, and he's okay, man. But
So, do you have any tips? Because I've heard about the pickpocketing in France. So, do you have any tips with how you have to move, like how you have to put your stuff, like when you're in France?
uh, I kept my wallet. I never put anything in my back pocket.
Okay.
Uh, Never. That's just by default every time.
Hmm.
Uh, my wallet is always in my front pocket, I mean, it gets a bit bulky, but hey, it's just something you gotta live with. I can't really say too much about precautions for women because that's a whole nother situation with the purse. You know what I mean? But
Right.
I would recommend, like if I had to just come up with something for you right now, like a purse where the zipper comes up to the front of you. So because if the zipper is in the back behind your shoulder, you know what I mean? Somebody
Right.
could come in and so just little stuff like that, just making sure all the little math and the ink, like just thinking about
Yeah.
it, you know what I mean? Like you'll come up with a way to make sure that you're solid when you're on, because a lot of times when you're on the subway, you're going to be there when there's a lot of people on, or you have a good chance of being on there with a lot of people on there, and people's hands are like like right on you, like touching you on your thigh,
Yeah.
in your backside, whatever. So there's a chance that somebody's trying to slide in, so you
Right.
have to just kind of never be, because a few times, some of the American friends that have visited out there, or some of the people that I've talked to, they either experienced or had people that experienced where they were just too relaxed,
Yeah.
and then boom, cell phone is gone, money is like actually one of my teammates on my graduation film, we the first year, uh, we were at the river, uh, and we was having a good time, and they ended up taking his passport and ended up missing. He's not from France,
Right.
and his portable Cintiq was gone. He had that in his bag and everything, and it was gone.
Cintiq?
Right. Man, chunk, you talking about a big chunk out the pocket. So that's something that is everyday everyday calculation.
Yeah.
When you out in public, you have to protect your belongings. You can't. I mean, you can't go to Burger King and leave what you brought at the table, unless you got a friend there watching your phone.
Right.
You can't do that in Paris. Um, there's too many people slick out there.
Right.
Um,
So what are some other like culture shock, whether it was just something being different, how they live their life, like what are some other culture shock experiences you had?
uh, the sheer size of the buildings out there. 'Cause, out here in LA, we have a lot of one story or like low rise houses and stuff like that. Like we don't, even in New York, like they have like a lot of stuff that's over like 10 stories tall. Like that's just the average size of
Yeah.
a building. So then you multiply that by this big stone building that's been there for like centuries, but it's a lot of them, like, so it's like the scale of the city is just like, oh snaps, like this is really dope. But the layout of the city is not like, like for example, LA, for example, is like blocks. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like these square blocks, right? But there's like kind of spiral spiral out, so you really have to watch where you're going, because you can get lost easily because the streets just don't connect that way. They literally are like, you can go on this street and it'll curve and end, and then like you come back, you might thought you went this way, but you
Yeah.
didn't, you know, and it's like that's another shock. And it was like because I ended up getting lost like that first year. I went to the TV from my room, and then on my way out to get the TV, it just started. I got lost, and then it started pouring down raining. And I had like 4% left on my phone or something like that.
You could create a little movie mini short on that.
Man, like it was like, oh snaps. And I think the next day I had class. I think it was like the first or the second week of class. So I'm like, what the heck? I'm getting lost the day before class. And I'm what's going on? But I ended up managing to get like an Uber, and I still had my address like in my phone, so it still worked out. But
Yeah.
yo, that city is a beast. It's a beast of the city, you know. So that was
I
another
know.
shot.
I know you mentioned somewhere about how they close early or something.
Yeah, yeah. The first I learned that the first time I went out there for 2 weeks. After 8, everything shut down. So I wanted to go get I wanted to go get some plastic forks from the little mart down the street. Nope, closed. You know, Ralph's here, Food for Less, all that stuff is open till like what 10, maybe 11. So I was like, oh yeah, I got time. Went down there, it's closed. I had to eat my instant noodles with a toothbrush. It was a clean toothbrush. It was unused. So I was like, I'm just about to do it. I'm too hungry.
Right.
So
You had to make a way.
yeah, once you're forced to eat noodles with a toothbrush one time, you're gonna learn that lesson. Now forward, everything closed early.
hmm So I think you kind of mentioned this earlier, but I'm not sure. Did you get to travel to other countries? Because I know Europe is so close together.
Yeah. So I got to go to for my internship. I got to go to London. I was there for my internship um, at this VFX studio called Blue Bolt, and really loved it. I mean, of course, they speak English. That's part of the reason why I loved it. And then it's a cool city too. I got to experience a little bit of the dance scene out there. Food was good, and then I got to go to Spain for like a weekend and visit some dance friends out there.
Nice.
Loved it. It's Spain is like if LA and Paris had a child.
Explain that.
It's like it's like it has the weather of LA, right? And like
Okay.
kind of like the greeny, sunny kind of stuff going on, but then it has the big stone buildings and the layout similar to Paris. So it's like, oh snaps! This is like I feel like I'm in a video game. It was really cool, and then it had some good chicken. Like my friend had some Spanish chicken he made.
Ooh.
Him and his girl, you know, they had me over. Had some Spanish chicken. It tastes. I tried it myself when I got back to LA. It didn't come out. It didn't come out that good. But yeah, those are the two. Those are the two places in Europe that I got to go to, and Annecy during the Annecy Film Festival,
Oh,
but that's
nice.
still France. That's still
Yeah,
France.
but that's still a huge festival that you got to go to. How was that in person?
Uh, it was it it was amazing, but it wasn't like how I expected it to be because are you familiar with CTN?
Yeah,
Um, have you been to CTN or any
not
animation?
yet. I've
Okay.
been I went to SIGGRAPH Asia when I was in South Korea, and then I did a little bit of SIGGRAPH when I came to New Orleans back in 2008, 9, 10, or something like that.
Okay. So like when you went, did they just have like a big area where like like a big mingling area? Did they have something like that when you went to SIGGRAPH?
I, I remember all like the displays and all that stuff, but as far as mingling, because I've been to MomoCon in Atlanta, so I've had different varying experiences, but it was mostly like trying to go to the panels and like see different artists and stuff.
Yeah, well, like the structure at CTN is like they have the panels and the presentations and everything, and then there's like the area where everybody has their booth set up. You know what I mean? And you can go, and so I expected that kind of structure. But when you go to Annecy, I guess it. I mean, CTN is an expo, and then Annecy is a festival, right? So when you go to which I didn't even know the difference. You know what I mean? So when I found that out when I got there, and then Annecy is like this citywide thing where you like all of Annecy is catering to this festival, and but they didn't have any like booth because I expected like booths where I could go and actually directly talk with artists and like, oh, hey, here's my book, here's my artwork in my book, and you want to buy it, and or like, oh, like I expected something like that, but it wasn't that. Like you run into other artists walking around the lake of Annecy, you might run into them like just chilling on the grass, next to the lake, and you're like, oh, it's snaps, like, hey, how you doing? Like it's a very
Mhm.
cool, like laid back situation. Like you run into who you run into. You might run into them going to get some ice cream or going to get a
Yeah.
hamburger or something like that. Like my friend Lasejo, he's from South Africa. He's actually in the class before me.
Okay.
So he came last year and he ran into LaShawn Thomas of the
Hmm.
Boondocks. He ran into LaShawn Thomas in a shoe store at Annecy.
Yeah, I met him in Korea
Oh yeah.
because he was working on the Boondocks when I was out there in 2010, 2011.
Oh, my
And I met him again when he came to New Orleans a couple years ago. So
See, I was happy for Lasejo, but at the same time, I was like really mad that I wasn't with him. I was like,
mhm.
oh, I wanted to meet him, and it's like he's in Annecy right now. I gotta like, I know a big tall black man ain't that hard to spot over here in Annecy, but I didn't see him.
Right.
I didn't get the chance to see it, man. But the whole it's like a mix of the professional with the
Hmm.
so the laid back. It's like a vacation. It's like you go on vacation. It's like you go on vacation to meet other people in the industry, which that structure completely went over my head at first. Like, my goodness, like why didn't I not understand this?
Hmm.
Like, but I mean, I still loved it, man. It was like in the second year it was like really raining a lot, but it was beautiful rain. Like I was like, shoot, I was enjoying it. I don't care.
Right. So what do you feel are the benefits of living internationally? I know for me, like I would suggest anybody go live in a foreign country, mostly because I feel like as Americans we can be kind of arrogant, and you can have the opportunity to see like there's ways people live that is not like America and it still work. Like the way we live is not the end all be all. So what do you feel like is the benefits of living internationally?
Well, generally the size of housing is very small.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I didn't have a too big of an issue with it because it was just me in my first, I was staying in the actual apartment, uh,
Mm-hmm.
place I was staying, and it was pretty small. It was like barely this. Matter of fact, if I'm looking at my living room right now, it's about the size of my living room. Everything, like the
Mm-hmm.
kitchen, the living space, and the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And you think that you need more space to live, but you actually
Yeah.
don't. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, so that was one thing. Uh, Living without ice cubes was another thing. I know that's very particular and specific, but
Yeah.
they don't really use a lot of ice out there. Like,
Yeah.
I was
That's a
like,
very American thing. People think we're weird.
right. They really do think we're weird. They kept like that was a constant question. They're like, so Justin, I want to ask you, why do Americans put the ice in the champagne? You know, like we we don't understand. Like every month, I would get asked that question. He's like, "What?" It's like, dude, you asked me this last month, man. Like I don't know. Like, I
Right.
just
We just be liking stuff cold.
yeah, like that's it. Like they
It's
live without
refreshing.
yeah, and they live without AC. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, man, it's not like a LA summer, but especially when you're in a building that's like 2 or 3 stories high, all the heat
Yeah.
rises up. You don't have, you know, like the first summer, I didn't have a fan or anything, so I was up there boiling, frying up there, and so that was another. But I got through it. It wasn't that bad. Like it was something that I learned to appreciate actually.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember one time in one of my, I think my second year in Korea, I was in my room and I just like laying on the bed, like trying to be as still as possible because we ain't had no AC. I was like, Lord, please help me.
Boy, it gets rough, and then it got really bad when at the second place I lived at in terms of heat,
Hmm.
because I stayed at City University, which is like a big campus or
Okay.
like or in university, and it was really dope. I had a much bigger room. I had an upstairs too. I had an artist room, which was super dope.
Hmm.
But it got really hot in there. You know,
Yeah.
first that first summer, um, that heat start creeping in, and then you keep your windows open, but then mosquitoes start using that as
Yeah.
excuse in your house, and they shape different out there. So it's like like I don't know what y'all doing. They flies is bigger out there, like this little stuff like that. Like this is y'all flies
Yeah.
crazy. Like you, they flies got like a coat of fur on them and stuff. Like what the heck? What the heck is this? Man, y'all need to get out of my
It's like an
house. Like,
animal,
exactly. It's like
like a mammal.
a little bird with a bird alien flying around, and it's loud too. They insects are loud. Like wow, you get in the house and it's just like y'all had anywhere else on the planet to go. Y'all wanted to come in here. Like
Right.
so it's like, hey, I gotta get a fan now. Just stuff like that, just adjusting. It's pretty
Yeah.
experience.
So, being a black person, did you deal with any racial stuff out there?
No, no, no. Actually,
Hmm.
I'm not gonna say that there isn't that, a situation out there like that, but I didn't get pressed by the police like that or nothing like that. I mean,
Hmm. No, I mean, I even like just interactions with different people.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, when I first went in 2016, I just saw all these roots of mixtures of groups of people
Mm-hmm.
from Black, Asian, white, uh, Middle Eastern, and
Mm-hmm.
it shocked me. That was another culture shock, like a positive one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
snaps! Like you see all these groups of friends that you wouldn't see
Yeah.
normally in America, because things are still here. Unfortunately, are still culturally and racially uh, segregated. You know what I mean? Like in the mind, you
Yeah.
don't have like actual segregation here, like
Right.
legally, right? Socially and culturally, there is still like segre- segregated little things going on, and you don't
Right.
see that as much over there. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? We all really mesh a lot more, which
Mm-hmm.
is beautiful. Like I was, I was like, oh snaps! This is this is next level right now.
Yeah. So, you're a crump dancer. So, like, what additional opportunities did that give you being in France? Like, what things did you get exposed to and get to do because of your additional like interest?
uh, well, it allowed me, to have a group of friends that extended outside of the school. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I make um, music for the crump community, so I had got to meet other people who produce music, and
Mm-hmm.
like collab with them, and just like it's a whole nother creative uh, bag that I can kind of like pull from and relate. Like it just gave me a chance to really connect with people out there. I got to go to sessions, dance sessions, see battles. Um, but the biggest opportunity I would say is when I was at the City University there. They have a big arts program, and I got to perform there like
Nice.
2 or 3 times. I got to uh, really showcase that talent, um,
Mm-hmm.
which was really really cool. Um, and they their scene, their dance scene is a lot more extensive and a lot more serious.
Mm-hmm.
It is over here. So that was a shock. Like wow, like Trump originated in Los Angeles, and we don't even take it half as serious as they do.
Yeah.
Like people actually are able. Trump is not like the biggest gas on the planet, but people are able to pay their bills with it out there. You know what I
Wow.
mean? It's a professional scene out there, and man, I had to like. I mean, I had to bring my game up because it's like I'm used to a certain thing in LA, like a certain level in LA.
Mm-hmm.
They don't BS, man. They
Mm-hmm.
really don't BS at all. So that was. I mean, eh, like I said, everything I experienced out there was really crazy. It was
Yeah.
really, really dope.
So, so now with like all of your experience being from Inglewood, getting the experience to go to a foreign country, being exposed to French animation, what do you feel like you bring to animation and like what is your skill set? Like what unique thing do you bring to animation and do you hope to produce in your work?
Uh, well, I do want to, you know, bring appeal to black design or black design sense, you know, black storytelling or black stories, black culture, authentic. It's not specifically always urban, like thing. You know what I mean? And I guess that's kind of like if I can help expand that in the industry of animation, that's pretty much like my goal, you know, um, just helping push, push the black element and lift it in in animation. Period. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if that answers it.
Yeah. So keeping along that line, whether you're doing it or anybody else, what is like your hope on a large scale? Like, what do you hope for the future of blackness in animation, black animation, like people creating their own thing? What do you hope to see in the future? What would you love to see?
Uh, I, you know, I have so many friends that were into art that grew up having an interest in art, but they didn't have the opportunity or knew there was an opportunity to pursue it professionally. And I would like to expand awareness that those are opportunities that people can pursue and make a living, a great living, uh, doing this career path. And that's pretty much what I would like. Um, I guess, yeah, like that's pretty much like my aim, because it's just heartbreaking to see like somebody who says, yeah, I used to do art, but then, life hit, and then like I felt I couldn't take care of myself because I just didn't have the opportunity to continue to do that, or I didn't know, or even worse, I didn't know I could do that. Like no one, it's not a lot of people who understand that this is a real career path. Like in fact, I would consider animation a trade now. You know what I mean? Because it's in everything. Like even if you're not doing like feature film or like TV animation, there's animation on Facebook. You know what I mean? Like everything is coming up and moving and doing stuff. Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat has filters. You know what I mean? Google has animation here. You know what I mean? Like there's commercial. Um, like literally, you see. I mean, I don't think there's a day now that people go without seeing something animated on their phone. I mean, like literally every day, people are seeing something being animated, I think. And so but I don't think the awareness of it being so common, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think people are recognizing that, especially in the Black community. I don't think people are recognizing that, and I want to expand that awareness the best way I can.
Yeah, that's kind of why I created BlkWmnAnimator, because the fact that I was surrounded by Disney, I would like draw on my little I would draw from my I had these Disney books, and then I would draw the covers from the VHS tapes and stuff like that. And I did all of that and just never thought to like do it as a career until I took I did like dual enrollment in high school, and then I took a class at a community college, and it was a 3D animation class, and I was like, oh snap. My senior year of high school, oh okay, I can do this as a career. So I want to like introduce kids to it much earlier, because usually people are like, oh, I watched Disney and then I wanted to do that. I never was like, oh, that's a career. I just was like, oh, I just enjoy drawing and animation. Like, I was so slow.
Yeah, like it's weird how like people like something and never like most of the time they never think to take the career of doing that. Yeah. Especially in art. Like, and that's such a big problem in our community that is like a lot of us I mean, of course, you got most of the artistic or creative paths in the Black community are music or sports.
Right.
You have recruiters coming to pick up athletes, you know what I mean? Or you have this awareness that you can go and get a deal for being a music artist, you know what I mean? But there isn't much of a conversation about going to see about animation career path, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, hopefully at some point, you know, I can have maybe some, either whether it's online or a physical place that, you know, the youth in the area are very aware that that's something that they can invest in.
Yeah. So where can people find you, whether it's your website or social media?
So I have an Instagram. It's Light Year Groover. Should I type that in the chat or?
I'll put it in the description box.
Okay. Light Year Groover is spelled normal. It's not spelled with no ones and zeros and all that stuff, underscores and stuff. It's Light Year Groover, Instagram. And my website is Justin HB Reid REID.com. You can see like my design work. You can see some, like I said, I'm learning storyboards, so I got a few storyboards up there. I got my orbit stuff. Pretty straightforward, and that's pretty much. I have a LinkedIn, Justin Polley. If you want to reach out to LinkedIn, and that's pretty much it. If you want to reach out.
So to everyone watching, thanks for watching, and I want you to like so I know it's real, comment and tell me how you feel, subscribe to Seal the Deal, and sign up for post notifications to show your zeal. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.
Peace.